isn't it frustrating that we have not yet found a solution to climate change? Well, Shinto might actually be the answer. Translating to the Kami way, Shinto is different from other religions in that it is more of a mindset or way of being. In ancient times, the Kami were considered to be natural phenomenon, natural objects, and ancestral spirits that had the qualities of growth, fertility, and production. They could be anything from a tiny rock to a huge mountain. Now, you might be wondering, what is the function of Kami in our everyday lives? Well, the answer to this is that there is no absolute deity in Shinto. Instead, the world is created through the cooperation and interactions between each Kami. For example, the Kami of the wind and the Kami of the river could work together to help a boat deliver goods from one place to another. Now, you might be asking, how does the idea of Kami relate to the environment? What is important to understand is that while Shinto is very environmentally focused, in that it portrays nature through the Kami as being an active and alive and almost humanistic force that plays a significant role in the function of our everyday lives, it was developed in a pre-industrialized society. Thus, the ideas of climate change and nature or the Kami as being something that we must protect and preserve might not have necessarily been as prominent during that pre-industrialized time. Due to this, we must discuss how Shinto from a pre-industrialized time evolved to help lead discussion on climate change in the modern industrialized world of today.
Shinto is considered the indigenous religion of Japan, and while it has existed for thousands of years in some capacity, it was formally given the name Shinto in the late 6th century AD in order to differentiate its beliefs from those of Buddhism and Confucianism. As with many indigenous religious systems across history, Shinto was eventually overshadowed by the spread of a different belief, in this case, Buddhism. Many Shinto shrines were repurposed to house Buddhist temples, and the very religion itself was renamed to Ryobu Shinto, meaning the Shinto of two kinds, in an agreement with Buddhist leaders. And soon, Shinto fell into almost complete obscurity. However, in the 19th century, with the rise of Japanese nationalism and a focus on isolationism, Shinto was readopted by the Meiji regime and turned into a state religion. The original intent of Shinto as a way to pay reverence to the earth and the spirits that foster life was skewed by a desire by the government to modernize the nation while connecting with ancient roots. This form of state Shinto lasted well into the 20th century, eventually falling with the turmoil of the Second World War. In the aftermath, many serious Shintoists worked to rebuild the practice of Shinto by connecting with its roots and reclaiming many of the shrines that had been seized by the government decades prior. Today, Shintoism is known as the religion of life and has stood the test of modernity by still being practiced by over 88.9 million Japanese citizens, roughly half of the population. This lasting and robust connection to Shinto is important when considering its inevitable influence on culture and politics, most importantly, environmentalism.
As climate change is an essential concern in our world, let's discuss how Shinto culture has impacted environmental policy in Japan in recent years. Today, despite being one of the most densely populated countries in the world, and made up of over 80% Rocky Mountains, the country still contains large amounts of lush forests and farmlands. As we have discussed, Japan's strong history of environmentalism has contributed to its success today, and the country has been known for its strict environmental laws and regulations for decades. For example, Japan's laws surrounding emissions of greenhouse gases, particularly sulfur dioxide, began in the 1970s and have been among the strictest in the world. A resurgence and reinvention of Shinto culture has certainly contributed to Japan's rich history of environmentalism. While Shinto was once associated with a strict militaristic state religion, particularly from the late 1800s onwards, in recent decades it has been thought of more as an ecological religion. There have been an increased focus on the belief that there is no truly inanimate forms of nature, including animals, plants, and other natural elements, such as mountains, as they all can become kami. This belief has resulted in a resurgence of environmentalism in Japanese culture that has contributed to the government's focus on environmental policy. Today, Shinto shrines in Japan represent respect for the environment in Japanese culture. Shrines, even those in urban areas, are often surrounded by nature. They are protected by the culture's respect for religious symbolism. For example, one shrine, Kasuga Taishi in Nara, has a tree growing through the roof of one of the buildings, which demonstrates respect for the natural world present in Shinto and Japanese culture. Though these shrines are hundreds of years old, their presence continues to symbolize cultural respect for nature and environmentalism. Shinto is fundamental to environmentalism. At the heart of environmental issues is often individuals' mindsets. If individuals could change their mindsets and adopt the Shinto perspective, then they would be able to better understand and appreciate the function of nature and work to save it.